All right, we are on record now, and we seem to be getting decent volume. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Peter Reese talking to you from our Western New York Field of Dreams studio in downtown North Buffalo. I have with me tonight the Universal critic, Tim Vonderempton, formerly of the city of Buffalo, but no more. Tim, how are you tonight?
Well, I'm back in the city of Buffalo, so that's not a good start.
Where were you?
I was outside of Orlando, Florida.
And you came back to Buffalo in the middle of winter?
Yes, some people like humidity and heat. I like snow and cold.
Whoa, well, okay, well, pretty clearly, Tim is not all that bright, but what we want to talk about tonight, it's recently come to our attention that there is a proposal to put a slaughterhouse at the corner of Kensington and Fillmore Avenues. And there's some interesting aspects of this. I was out there the other day with my neighbor, and we did a little video, and we'd like to show that video and maybe kick around some of the ideas here. But let me start out with this. Tim, what if I tell you you're going to get a slaughterhouse across the street from where you live now? What do you think you're doing?
You're going to bring business into my neighborhood? I'm all for it.
Okay. How about if I bring in flies and smells and urine and guts?
True fact, I live across the street from the headquarters of the Buffalo Municipal Housing Authority. So it might already be there.
And you wouldn't be able to tell the management of the BMHA from a slaughterhouse. Is that what you're saying?
Well, that's a start, yep.
All right. Well, that's fair enough. Let me, we've got 3 pieces of video that we recorded the other day when we found out about this. I kind of like to do a site visit when I do something like this. And we've been having a little bit of grief here getting our voiceover on video straight. So I think what we're going to have to do, Tim, I'm going to have to show some video, stop it, and you can yell at me and say stop, and we'll then stop the video and talk a bit and then start the video again. I was hoping we could do a voiceover, but we're having problems with that. So I'm going to bring it up now, and let's see. All right, well, here we are at the slaughterhouse proposed. Southeast corner of Kensington and North Fillmore. Used to be a gas station, quite obviously. After that, it was a veterinary clinic. Following that, it became some sort of retail dispensary of some sort. There's cigarettes for sale signs in here. But, I mean, it's your classic 1940s, 1950s gas station. All right, that's just me wandering around talking, okay? So I like to have a site visit because I want to know what this is going to look like and what the neighborhood's like and, how it fits in, doesn't fit in, etc. It's easy to look at this stuff on the city's website, but you really don't know how appropriate it is unless you get there. So I'm now going to continue with our movie. On a pretty substantial parcel, I'm panning around now. Sorry for the wind noise. That is Indigo across the street. W.D. Danforth used to have their industrial location here. There's an auto repair shop there. I believe that's a plumbing equipment place. Sunoco station with a stop and shop kind of thing. But directly across the street we have houses. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 houses, and I'll pan in and get a view. You can walk out the front door here and see the houses. If I were living in those houses over there on North Fillmore, the ones on Kensington, I would not be pleased to have a slaughterhouse here. There's a classic old stone house over there.
I take a little umbrage with what you stated there. Those houses have been there. This parcel has been zoned for retail use. Henceforth, there wouldn't be a gas station there.
It's also light industrial use, okay? But, I mean, if I tell you it's light industrial, what does that bring to mind? It's kind of like a small machine shop or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Slaughterhouse is kind of an outskirts ag thing. You know, I don't think there's anybody that really wants to have a slaughterhouse across the street from them. It's just the smell, etc. They're very heavily regulated by Buffalo and New York State, just so you know. Their facilities have to be airtight and watertight and this tight and that tight. And I'm a little concerned as to how you'd actually regulate that. But so keep going.
You know, hearing all of that, those individuals that live across the street probably had to deal with toxic chemicals coming out of the ground from old gas containers in there that probably has seeped across the street.
And it's probably been remediated by now, but who knows?
All
old gas stations have pollution from the gas tanks, which always leaked. And there's also, I learned this a couple of years ago, they have a grease pit under their, inside the building, mm-hmm. where they just dumped old oil and grease and stuff in a hole in the ground. So every old gas station is pretty much assumed to be polluted.
Yeah, and
but I'm not digging in the ground and eating it, though. I mean, it's not really coming into my house, is it?
Well, you never know. You do have a water table under that area, right?
Well, sure I do, but I'm not drinking water or well water.
If you were a resident over there, you wouldn't have to worry about it because the city of Buffalo tends to not tell other areas that are lower income exactly what's there.
You're claiming the city of Buffalo might fail to disclose dangerous conditions?
I might have just a tad bit of experience with the city.
Okay, I'm shocked and appalled.
Well, you should.
That's what we used to say. I'm shocked. Claude Rains, Casablanca.
Mm-hmm.
Here's your winnings, sir. Gambling here? I'm shocked. All right, well, let's hear some more of this.
Right.
The brick building that you can see just beyond the stone house used to be Carpenter's Hall. It was a union hall. Now it's a church.
Used to have fraternity.
And here is the parcel. It's got a barrier fence here.
That's my neighborhood.
But it's a substantial piece of land. Goes back a good long way. Beyond that fencing is the 33. So there's a lot of room in here to put in cattle pens and stockyards. And
maybe this is part of the way the city helps to take away the problem of getting food to the stores, halal food in particular, to the stores in that area.
well, is there a problem getting halal food to the stores? Because you'll see later on that there's a market that, does halal food. By the way, that cat just knocked you off camera a little bit there, Tim. Sorry.
I'll state this. The city's just trying to do its part. They care for us.
Are you feeling okay? You look okay.
I'm feeling fine. I had a change of heart when I was down south.
Well, yeah, you were in crazy land in Trump world.
I was in exile.
Ellen, if he starts frothing at the mouth, call an ambulance. All right, well, let's get back to movie time here. such sorts of things. You can see again, we're looking at the back of what looks to be an old gas station.
Because it is.
Not terribly well maintained, trees down, not horrible though, we've seen worse. Bags of trash out back here just piled haphazardly.
But that's not the fault of the owners.
Aren't you glad you tuned in? Of course it is. Aren't you glad you tuned in so you get to see a survey of all the garbage bags on the east side?
Snow obscuring those. But a substantial parcel here, no two ways about it. It's a big piece of property. There'd be room to pen cattle in here, and sheep and goats and other things.
I believe that the applications, what's available to the public so far, indicates that what would be slaughtered here initially is chickens, fowl. But I'm not really sure whether it would be limited to that or if that wouldn't just be the next step to, you know, sheep, goats, and even cattle. But part of the problem right now, just so you know, you can't get on the city website any information about what's going on. There are no plans for what's actually going to be here, and yet this is up for a special use permit at 2 o'clock tomorrow at Legislative Committee hearing in the city of Buffalo. Larry, my neighbor who's there, has already foiled that stuff, Freedom of Information law requested, and already been turned down by the new commissioner, who apparently doesn't really understand what FOIL means. So he's already appealed her denial of his FOIL. But in the meantime, we're sailing blind right now.
So that leads me to ask you a question. Are you going by hearsay saying that this is actually going to be a slaughterhouse?
Well, it says in their documents it's a slaughterhouse. It's not well disclosed. If you look in one place on the website, it's a industrial light use in the topic, and then another place it kind of puts in parenthesis slaughterhouse. But we'll see later that it's not being very well revealed. So let's get
Prior to slaughter,
through some of our video.
coming around the back, and again you see the houses directly across the street. I think maybe we would want to go and talk to those people.
And we did.
There's some sort of other building down there. You can actually hear the traffic on the 33. I'll walk over to the edge of the property here. I just can start to see the cars on the 33. 33 is down in the ditch here. And I'm not sure how much of this is owned on this property, but there I think you can pretty clearly see. And here we are looking at the back of the building. And there's a white Ford over there.
My wife Ford's my wife.
And over here, we're electing Brian Gould sheriff. I don't know if you can see that, but Brian Gould apparently is still running for sheriff in the back of this property. So
Let's stop the video for a second. Now, who's the council critter for this location?
This is Maston, so that would be Ulysses Bingo.
You mean they couldn't move further up Jefferson to places? I mean, I could think
Well,
of...
why would you do that? Say that again, by the way, Tim. I may have your mic. Had your mic muted. You're thinking about moving this further up Jefferson?
Absolutely.
You mean towards Jefferson? Because remember, it's Fillmore's north-south, and it's on Kensington,
Yeah.
so it would have to go further to the west.
Yeah, we would want to go further towards, I don't know, Canisius with this. I'm sure that if we have council members that are in support of this, and I'm sure the mayor would sign off on this legislation, for this permit.
Well,
There is department.
I've
We
got a
could
better
move it
solution.
further up.
Why just move it further? My council member is Delaware District Joel Ferroletto, who I happen to like. We're good friends, and I think he does a good job for the neighborhood. I suggested that if this slaughterhouse was such a good idea, we should put it at Dash's Market at the corner of Hurdle and Sterren.
Even better.
It makes sense to me, and then everyone would be able to have the benefit of halal meats. And by the way, I'm no expert on this, okay? I'm a recovering Catholic. My wife is Jewish. From what we can tell, the process of halal butchering is similar to kosher, okay? And it's not really surprising because it's, if you look timeline-wise, it was Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, you know, in that order, the order in which they emerged. So the traditions mesh and blend. But anybody out there who thinks that Councilmember Ferroletto, you know, should advocate to have this at Dash's Market, you know, they should call in first thing in the morning.
Absolutely.
I suspect that if he suggested that, given the nature and character of this neighborhood, that would be the end of his political career. But
I could see a recall vote.
yeah, and that's tough, very hard in Western New York, in Buffalo. There's a provision for it, but I don't think anybody's ever successfully pulled it off.
Well, we didn't think that India Walton was going to win a primary either.
I voted for her, but she called me up before the primary, and I basically, she's, well, you know, would you like me to discuss Canada? I said, no, don't waste your time on me. We're voting for you. But, you know, pretty much, I don't think you can win. So, hey, I'm no genius. Let's get back to movie time.
So we've got a touch of Americana here. I don't know if this is all the same parcel or not. I'll have to look at the map, but it looks like there's a large parking lot or something here, or a swimming pool or something. It's
Watch that building.
snowed last night. It looks like a large area of asphalt. Oh, that's Mary's Little Lamb's preschool childcare. So
Right downwind.
it'll be very pleasant for the children to
Educational
be
experience for the children.
this far away.
Do you think that they'll be slaughtering Mary's Little Lamb?
One could only hope so. I'm sure that it's going to be primely priced.
I'm not sure how the kids will feel about that. Meanwhile,
From a slaughterhouse. And it'll give them a touch of reality. They'll understand where meat comes from. Close proximity, you can see it in the background. The large building is Burgard High School. Should become more visible in a moment here. The big yellow brick building in the background is Burgard. Good to have a daycare right next to the slaughter yard. Downwind. And downwind of the slaughter yard, good point. The slaughterhouse. You think we can find anybody home across the street? I wonder if the people across the street know that they, let's go knock on a door.
Here we go, Peter trespassing again.
we can kill this one here. Obviously, I was polite enough to turn the camera off when I went. I figured it was enough trauma for the neighbors, you know, to have a crazy old white-haired guy coming, knocking on their door, asking if they knew they were going to have a slaughterhouse across the street. Now, we didn't find a single person, and you'll see it anywhere in the immediate environment that had any idea. And I think our next clip, which I will cue up now, is going to explain to some extent why nobody in the neighborhood knows about this.
Oh yeah, that's
They're
just,
very predatory in terms of
well, it's fake too. There's really no organization. They harass you and send you nasty letters.
Yep.
But basically they don't do anything. And I don't know if any of that money ever gets to the artists. They supposedly,
Crosstalk about.
represent all the artists.
Yep.
All right, now we're driving out, going down Kensington Avenue. We're going to do a little neighborhood video here. So we're going east on Kensington Avenue. Here are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 houses that are here. I'm going to pull over to the side and let this nice person get by me. This is Mary's Little Lambs daycare. It certainly appears to be an active facility. It's substantial. Don't really know. There is a church over on the next street over. More houses here. That's Burgard, and this is close proximity here.
How ironic
What do you think?
that they are opening a slaughterhouse across the street from a building that was built to celebrate the lamb who was led to slaughter.
Symbolic.
Yeah.
I think you're being cynical.
How? Why would you even think that?
Von der Emden, some sort of European Protestant religion, I would make it.
Catholic. Bavarian.
Poor devil. Meanwhile, back to the movie, and again, this gives you an idea as to how close we're to Burgard. And if you watch now, you're going to see me attempt to break the law and then chicken out.
This street, which we are now cutting down, it's a little diagonal back to Fillmore. Whoops, no we're not, because it's a one-way do not enter. So we'll come and do this the other way. I don't want to be videoing myself breaking the law. But anyhow, whatever this little side street is that doesn't seem to have a sign here.
And I said there was no left turn sign on the street, so you have to turn in here.
Yeah, you really can't. I didn't see a
No, you
one way. I
don't
didn't
see
see a
the
one-way sign.
You have to go one way. Yeah.
But I mean, you can see that there are.
The slaughterhouse proposed is going to be coming up on the left here.
Residences here. The lady on the corner, I knocked on her door and talked to her, and she had no idea that there was going to be a slaughterhouse next to her, across the street from her. This is a Sunoco station with a little stop and shop, and they had no idea that there was going to be a slaughterhouse here. We're now going to turn onto Fillmore and go north. My guess is we'll get the same response just about everywhere here, that in fact there's no one here knows what's going on. Verdun, is that what that street is? Hard to read, there's snow all over it.
Yep, we're done.
So there's houses on both sides, and this seems to be a nice little neighborhood street. I've certainly lived in worse neighborhoods than this. And there's a few houses missing here, but for the most part it looks like the original architecture and structure here. Hold on, I'm going to ask this man here. Sir, are you aware that there's a proposal to put a slaughterhouse across the street? Yeah, there's something on a Common Council committee agenda for Tuesday to get a special use permit to put a slaughterhouse in that old gas station that used to be a vet clinic, and I don't know what it was, but it's empty now. But they want to put a slaughterhouse there. All right, well, I guess we'll try to inform the neighborhood. Thank you. Have a good day.
I can't even see who you're talking to.
What? The guy standing on the porch roof there.
On the roof.
Well, you know, it's the second floor. He walked out onto the porch.
I think I know why they don't know.
Should I go left or right here?
Right.
Let's go up Fillmore a little bit more.
My phone's dead, but I don't
And you have an iPhone?
it's on it.
And you can't plug it in because they're not standard, you know.
But if the sign that we see.
Just pausing this here, the proposed gas station site is on that corner to the left side of this. You can just see the side of it from here.
It's pretty much what would be posted in the notice. Does it even mention Slaughterhouse?
Well, that's a good question. Let's video the sign. I didn't look at it. Good catch, Larry.
I like this part of it.
What does this sign ID? Okay, we're pulling back onto the property now, and we're going to look at the content of the signage. And granted, you've got to work pretty hard,
Yep,
but it
that's
says
what I thought. Industrial light use.
special use permit.
Industrial light. Who would file?
Industrial light use doesn't say slaughterhouse. That's preposterous. That's just it. This is ridiculous. We've got to have a good big picture.
You want to go back and interview everyone down? Do you know there's going to be light industrial
Yeah,
use?
no. Do you know there's going to be light industrial use? Let's get a good look at this. This signage obviously is preposterously inadequate.
Get a good look at the sign. It says slaughterhouse nowhere, industrial light use.
Look at that. Light industrial use. I mean, it sounds like there's going to be a bobby pin factory here. How would anybody know there's going to be a slaughterhouse? Now, this is just absolutely ridiculous. Okay, now we're dragging ourselves out of here and going back up.
I think Indigo's a nightclub, if I recall.
I don't know. I have no idea. Wasn't that a roller rink or something once upon a time?
Pittsburgh Indigo for some time. It's still running.
But it's a roller rink?
I think it was a roller rink. Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's a former roller rink.
Yeah. It might even be a former nightclub. Performance venue.
What is a nightclub anyhow? It's a club you go to at night.
Sounds pretty
I've
good.
led a very, very sheltered life, you know. I've been kind of like busy trying to make a living and stuff. All right, we're going to take a little run up Kensington here, just to give you an idea. I mean, you know, this is a residential retail type neighborhood here. There's Verdun we passed again. And you know, some of the housing is spotty here, but obviously humans still inhabit this area. Here's the Golden Nugget. People who go to political events are aware of that. So, you know, I'm going to kill.
All right, now
To me, this is a typical politician bait and switch. Okay, we're going to put up a sign that says, hey, this is going to be, you know, a request for zoning for light industrial use. City gets their money as soon as the application comes, right? It's not refundable.
yeah, but is it that much money?
No, it's not that much
Couple
money.
$100, $300?
But you're also talking about an administration and a council that has rubber stamped every budget that's come through in the last 12 years and burned through money.
Well, what bothers me the most about this, to be frank, I'm not a Muslim and I'm not black and I don't live in the neighborhood, but it's two pieces of this. There's social justice. It looks to me like we're dumping an undesirable use on a poor black neighborhood. That's number one, that we wouldn't want in a more affluent. I mean, the people on Nottingham don't want a slaughterhouse across the street. I don't want one across the street from me, and I'm sure Joe Dash doesn't want this at his market. But it's compounded with something. We have a substantial Muslim population in the city of Buffalo now, and I applaud that, by the way. It is not an Islamophobe, not me. I've defended many Muslims, particularly, in the political realm. I've done everything I can to try to get them to voice their political power and do what they can because they have substantial numbers, substantial votes, and they need to be listened to. But isn't this kind of throwing the gauntlet down to the black community and saying to them, well, don't you dare criticize this because it's a source of halal meat and you're being Islamophobic, you're being anti-Muslim, da 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 da. And I just don't think that's true. I think it's almost like they're saying to the local leadership of the black community, we dare you. We dare you to complain about this because, you're a religious bigot if you complain about it. And that doesn't have to be true. You cannot want to have a stinky slaughterhouse near you without hating Muslims. I mean, I don't hate shops that provide kosher meat. In fact, in general, it's higher quality stuff. I mean, Hebrew National, part of their motto is they answer to a higher authority, not just the FDA.
Mm-hmm.
And that frightens me. It's almost like the city is initiating some sort of culture war, racial conflict. That's what really bothers me the most.
Sowing
about
the
this.
seeds of chaos?
Well, yeah. Let's burn the place down.
Wow. Now you start to get into my territory.
What, you're in charge of burning things down, or what?
I wish I was. We in Western New York have followed the traditions of our parents and our grandparents and just blindly sit there and look at our elected officials and designate by party origin who we're going to stick with. Buffalo was an industrial blue-collar city. So we have now been left with the entrails after all the industry is left here, or most of it, to reap what we sow from the party that's in charge. And, I'm not saying any other party would be good or better. I'm just saying that it just seems that when you have one party control in a certain area, they're going to play the divide and conquer so that those people that are fighting for their piece of the pie, and by the way, the pie container is empty. There's no pie. They're just fighting for the crumbs.
Well, comrade, there's the Socialist Party. What about the Socialists?
Well,
They won a primary,
they did.
Really blew it in a general election, by the way. And I'm not sure they even understand how badly they blew it. It was winnable.
Mm-hmm.
It was winnable, and they did everything they could. That's a whole other podcast, by the way. But they blew it out their butt. That's all there is to it. And that's actually kind of sad.
Or what's sadder to me is those that keep bringing in the incumbents who, after his first, I would give him 6 years, has just been nothing but the same old, same old.
People that put in term limits, just so you know, you just get into musical chairs. What the term limit laws are, you can only have 2 consecutive terms. So you serve as a councilman, and then you move to controller for a term, and then you go back to be a councilman for 2 terms again. And that's how it tends to work.
I've never argued for term limits either. I'm arguing.
Well, we can't shoot them. I mean, they can't disqualify
I'm arguing
them.
for rational voting on the behalf of the voters. I mean, is it sadder that the current administration lost a primary because they said, you ain't got to worry about them?
School zone speed camps, by the way. Single factor. A level of arrogance, a horrible implementation of something that might not have been a good idea in the first place, but that was the worst government program since the Vietnam War, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, if they could screw it up, they screwed it up. They really did. And we should have a whole show on that, by the way. Because you can walk through the statute and say, well, they have to do these 12 things. They didn't even try to do any of them. And they pretty much, after it was over, admitted it. And Byron Brown held to that program to the last drop of blood.
You mean this isn't Byron Brown's fiefdom for life? I mean, what do you expect?
Somebody who cares about the people. Well, in the meantime, let's get back. We can philosophize forever. Let's get back to slaughterhouses and what we can do about that. How did you like that signage? I mean, isn't that spectacular?
It was big.
It's substantive. Yeah, it's required to be that big. They tell you exactly how big it has to be, and they tell you like the size of the letters. They actually give you a pattern, I believe. You can take to your printer. But what about the content? What about the message you're getting to people? It's just that to me is just totally outrageous. This whole thing should be, get out of here. Why aren't the political leaders who are directly involved with that? Why didn't they have a community meeting? John Daly built an apartment house. He's our neighbor, lives here. Daly Planet is his. Del Denby's is his. Owns a number of properties, and quite frankly, does a good job. He put up the new apartment building that is on the corner of Hurdle and Parkside. And most people scream and yell, but you know what? Quite frankly, that's a good development of a lousy parcel on top of a polluted old gas station that nobody wanted. It was an eyesore. Somebody allowed whoever owned that parcel to sell an L-shaped parcel out around the back for parking to M&T, and it almost rendered the gas station parcel useless. It required an enormous amount of environmental remediation. There's actually 2 stories of underground parking under that building. And when you build an apartment building in Buffalo today under the Green Code, you don't have to provide any parking. So it's a terrific step forward. When John Daly was applying for the variances, he needed to do that. He actually had a community meeting at the old gas station. He scheduled it ahead of time and invited people to come and ask him questions and listen to see his drawings and to the community. I mean, this is not the ZBA that he went to, the Zoning Board of Appeals, to the community, the people that walked up. And I know we were there, and I thought he did a terrific job.
Now, how often do these representatives for either the organization that wants to do something or the councilman in that district have these meetings?
Well, this wasn't a councilman's meeting. This was the developers' meeting.
I
But wouldn't you think it would make sense? I mean, I just don't think anybody would be surprised that nobody wants a slaughterhouse. This is a noxious use, okay? Would you like to have a nuclear disposal pit next to your house? Most people would say no. Under certain terms and conditions, maybe, but I don't know.
I walked out of Iraq with a piece of paper saying I was exposed to all that stuff. So
Is that why you're acting the way you do?
most of the time.
Because Ellen was telling me you've been acting strangely.
Well, I don't glow at night. I'll tell you that much.
It's too bad. It'd be free electricity. All right, we got one more clip here. Let's see what this madness is. Let's cue up the last clip and just watch that. Now, actually, though, before we get to this, I want to talk about something. Of course, we did some research. There is licensing required at the state level and at the city level for a slaughterhouse. There's all kinds of restrictions. It's pretty hard to believe the city will ever enforce all of these. I don't know about the state. But try this one on for size. In the state of New York, at the state level, it is illegal to have a slaughterhouse within 1,500 feet of residence. Okay? A lot of the driving that we did was in 1,500 feet of this proposed slaughterhouse. Here's the hook. In cities that have 1 million or more people, i.e. New York City.
Mm-hmm.
This is illegal in New York City, but not in Buffalo.
Yeah.
Now, isn't that fascinating?
Well, it is, but it isn't.
Yeah, well, 70% of the voting power in New York State is between Rockland and Montauk. So, So if you need halal meat, I'll guarantee you there's a ton of Muslims in New York City. I have no idea what the demographics are who want halal meat. They don't get it from slaughterhouses that were in 1,500 feet of somebody's house. Okay, if they're in New York City. And you got to love it because it doesn't say New York City. It says cities of 1 million or more. City of Buffalo. Actually, there are a number of laws that are written that say this applies to cities 250,000 or more. And they didn't write Rochester and Buffalo in the law, but that's obviously what they meant. And we're supposed to be too dumb to know that. I mean, it doesn't apply to Syracuse or Jamestown or Lackawanna. So, I mean, doesn't that put a different, complexion on the whole thing? To me, it did. I mean, I was stunned. I read this. I said, bingo. We got to make, oh, wait a minute. We need 750,000 more people. Then you can't have this.
No. If you don't believe that
Okay, we're just down the street at
the personnel that have been elected don't have your best interest at heart, look and see, watch this video even closer, because this is what happens. I've been there, I've seen them, they've done it. They'll do it again until somebody stands up to them, gets them voted out of office. It's a power play.
Now, you're not supposed to name names, but I don't think Charlie Fisher would mind. I mean, this was brought to my attention by Charlie Fisher, that this was going to be a slaughterhouse. And then we went and did some research, and he was already trying to organize community opposition. He lives down the road on Kensington to the west of here in the Trinidad neighborhood, which is just south of Sisters Hospital. Okay, but it's still too close to him. We looked at the City Hall records, and Charlie did not know that the city's planning board has already approved this. And there don't appear to be any minutes available for the planning board meeting, and there's no plans that we can see. And we just don't know what's going to be on this facility, and the city ain't telling us. And yet the Common Council is going to, apparently have a public hearing on this tomorrow. I mean, what kind of kangaroo court is that? This is just madness to me.
No, that's like, I hate to take it to a bigger level, but that's the Patriot Act after 9/11. 20,000 pages, and we're going to vote on it at, 6 a.m.?
And we keep renewing it, too.
Yeah.
And, I can't launder my dirty money through bank accounts in the name of XYZ Inc. unless I can prove I'm XYZ Inc. Let's just see this last clip and see if it's got anything to do with anything, and then we can go cry in our beer. Okay, we're just down the street at 2106 Fillmore, and they have halal food here. Isn't that amazing? So it isn't like you can't get halal meats in the neighborhood. You can get them right down the street.
Can you pause that for a second?
Sure.
You just drove by. Did you go in?
No, did not.
So you didn't ask anybody if they're running low on it and could use a place like that right near them?
I believe there's one in Lackawanna, just so you know.
I think it's closed.
My understanding is, and that's on Ridge Road, and it doesn't seem to cause any problems. So I guess it depends on the neighborhood. That's in the first ward of Lackawanna, and there's a history of that. I've got a video. Western New York Field of Dreams did this. It's a podcast, and we had the head of the New York State Conference of American Islamic Relations, and it was on more matters than this. But it was the history of Islamophobia in Lackawanna and the history of the city of Lackawanna discriminating against poor people. And I mean, there are significant landmark New York State highest court of appeals decisions on it. Kennedy Parks Homes Association. I studied that in law school. It was handed down, like 1970. I remember studying it with Joe Desmond, who was a former chief judge and an adjunct professor at UB, former chief judge of the Court of Appeals. And I think he got elected, by the way. I don't think he was appointed. And he was lead counsel. And it was the Catholic Church trying to put low-income housing the wrong side of the tracks. Okay, there's this big railroad and the tracks. Oh, yeah. Traditionally, the poor people had to stay west of the tracks. And that included, Muslims, blacks, you name it, but just those that weren't quite so desirable to the nice folk the other side. And, to me, Lackawanna has never been the most desirable city in the world. But the Muslim population in Lackawanna now is over 40%, and they vote like machines, and they get the vote out. I've been told that the high school population in Lackawanna is 65% Muslim. So guess where Lackawanna is going? the next mayor or the mayor after that of Lackawanna will either be Muslim or will not get elected without Muslim support.
Hmm.
You know, they really do vote too.
I would expect them to. Unlike the rest of us who either blindly vote or don't.
Well, what was the percent turnout in the mayoral primary? It was pathetic, wasn't it? Wasn't it around 22% or something?
Yeah. If that.
And you know, it's rarely much better than that. All right, let's kill this off, and then maybe someone will kill us off. And the area that we're in is the turf of some block club. Which is it? Again, we're coming down past a street. I've come through here many a time because
You're going to miss it. You're going to miss it. Okay.
I'm going to miss it. Well, tell me.
Gessel Street.
Gessel Street Block Club is here. They work tirelessly to keep their neighborhoods safe and clean. And I wonder if they know there's going to be a slaughterhouse down here.
That's going to be the light industrial.
Now watch what a little old lady my neighbor is. He won't let me have any fun at all right through the end of this. You'll hear me complaining bitterly about it.
We got a crowd of people there. You know I want to be on camera.
Excuse me, sir. Are you aware that there's a proposal to put a slaughterhouse back there at the corner of Bailey and, Fillmore and Kensington? You know, the old gas station was a vet clinic for a while. They're proposing to put a slaughterhouse in. Yeah, no one seems to know much about it. There's a sign out there. It's a special use permit, but it says it's for light industrial use, and it doesn't tell you that it's going to be a slaughterhouse. All right, very good. It's on a Common Council. What is it? Legislative committee meeting. Legislative committee meeting on Tuesday to review special permit request. I have a feeling a lot of people wouldn't like it if they knew about it. All right, well, thank you. Appreciate it. Let the people know if you can.
Thank you.
Larry, I'll decide whether he's going to be on camera or not. Don't get in my way. You know, you're suppressing my First Amendment rights. Who the hell do you think you are? Jeremy Zellner? Huh? Is the guy standing out in public? Did he run away? I'm going to kill it now. I think we got to. All right. So how do we finish this off? Maybe we'll do a follow-up Common Council tomorrow. I don't know if I've ever seen anything quite as ham-fisted as this, or anything that looks as sinister as this to me. Now, maybe I'm just crazy, but it looks to me like our government wants to make trouble here.
No. Government would never, ever, ever do that.
Well, I have heard that we have the best government that money can buy. Do you think
And
that's
money
true?
bought that.
Well, you don't know that. Stop it.
I do. I read campaign disclosure filings.
Which is a topic for another event, but there was about $1 million in dark money that was spent in the last mayoral campaign. And it was spent by both sides. I think it was like $600,000 by the mayor and almost $800,000 by the India Walton side. And what dark money means is we don't know who spent the money.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know where it came from. We're going to do a little podcast on that. It's very easy to do. Is there any dark money involved in this? Are the principals who are involved with this venture, were they big dark money funders of the mayor? By definition, we can't know. There is one other little tidbit. The person applying for this permit, their address listed on the permit is the property, the premises. Now, does it look to you like anybody lives there?
No.
Do you know anyone who lives in an abandoned gas station proposed slaughterhouse? I've never met anybody like that.
No. But prior practice has proven to me that that's happened all the time.
Well, that to me just doesn't pass the smell test. I mean, most people have an address where they live, and they register to vote there. They register their car there. Occasionally, they lay their head at night there, and it's real easy to figure out where Pete Reese lives. Trust me.
Oh, I can.
It's he podcasts from there.
Yeah, and I also get booed showing up. You're bringing the riffraff in the neighborhood, and the neighborhood isn't very happy.
Well, you're the one sitting in the window, though, so
Yeah, well,
well lit too, I might add. If you start to see a red dot on a side, hit the floor.
which I've been there, done that in foreign nations as well.
Not a good idea.
I think we follow this up after the meeting tomorrow. Maybe we get Mr. Fisher in here.
I know you're going to find this hard to believe, and so is everyone else out there in Podland. But this leaves me speechless. I mean, I'm just, whoa. Now, what are we going to do in the city of Buffalo to top this caper?
Still
All right.
got a chance for Bass Pro, right?
Bass Pro, the whole deal stunk, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't stink the same way this does. It didn't smell the same way as manure and guts and
This one
flies
isn't stinking yet, though.
but it's gonna stink. Who thought this was a good idea?
Those who want to sow the seeds of chaos.
You remember the old Seinfeld episodes? They say, no one would believe it. This can't be a theme for an episode because it's just too crazy.
Yep.
No one would believe it. Well, this is the Seinfeld episode that no one would believe. We're signing off. I'm killing the recording, and we'll go from there.